Welcome to Business for the Culture. My name is Ebony McMorris. I am the White House Correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks. And I'm glad today's conversation, I'm going to be sharing it with my co-host, Young Jack, over here.
That's right. Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
And we have a special guest today. We always love him on AURN, Mr. Marc Morial. He is the president for the National Urban League. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good to be with you. Always love to be on AURN and to be in Chicago.
To be in Chicago. Chi-Town.
Chi-Town.
Man,
Yes.
I'm glad you said that because Chi-Town is like, Chicago's the birth of so many different things, right?
You know, Chicago is one of these, I like to call it a great migration city, because Chicago's black community was shaped by people from Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana who came here in the teens, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And like my family being from Louisiana, we have so many family members and friends who they got on a train and they came to Chicago. People from Louisiana, and they shaped the culture. This is why Chicago's had an incredible music tradition, an incredible blues tradition, a culinary tradition. It comes from Mississippi, it comes from Louisiana, it comes from Alabama, it comes from the South.
When I think about that, and like some of my favorite places, you talk about Chicago, you talk about New Orleans, and then I feel like we're really seeing, as you were talking earlier, Atlanta being like this new Mecca where we're seeing all that come together like a nice little bowl of gumbo.
You got it.
I love it. But I want to ask you this. We are here at the DNC and reflecting on tonight and the history of tonight. Something keeps ringing in my ear, and it's when President Biden got on the stage and he said, look, I got 5 more months left. In that 5 months, I got work to do. What is the work that you want to see happen?
So there's a number of unfinished business items that I would hope could get done. One would be the passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the Freedom to Vote Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Bill, a comprehensive, take the minimum wage and make it a living wage and index it to inflation, the child tax credit, and then something big on housing. We need a housing trust fund to fund down payment assistance, to fund the construction of new units. I mean, there's a big agenda that I think the president certainly can get done, but it may be that he has to use the tools of executive action more than the tools of congressional action, depending on the outcome of the election and what a lame duck looks like. But the important thing is the president, and I had an opportunity to spend some time with the president. He invited me to fly down to the LBJ library with him to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights, the Civil Rights Act. And he talked about, hey, he's going to work until the last day and the last minute and the last hour of his presidency. And that was good to know. He's not interested in coasting. And, you know, he's been a consequential president, but what he's done, he's put the stake in the ground. It was great to see Ron Busby, his son, and others talk about African-American businesses and black businesses. Well, the stake is in the ground, but there's still tremendous work ahead to get the real results that we need.
You know, Jock, when you are talking with other black men, and we're talking about what's at stake and what they want to see put on the table at this time, what are those conversations? Because I hear everything Mr. Morial is saying. How is that? What does that sound like on the ground? And when y'all, I don't hang out in the barbershop. I don't know. But what does that sound like?
You know, it's interesting because I've seen some of the most educated people with a very skewed outlook on what it's supposed to look like for us as blacks and black business owners. And it gets a little murky sometimes because it's hard to have a conversation where everyone is on the same accord, especially when you're talking politics. But at the end of the day, if you just take the politics out of it and talk about the things that you rightfully deserve and need as a culture, as a black business owner, as a black family, some of the conversations they're really is interesting because I myself, you know, I got kids in college, you know, and
that bill.
Oh, it get real though.
Right.
It gets real. I have kids in college. I have kids who aspire to go to college. Myself, when it comes to my taxes, I'm sitting here now dealing with some things now, and I'm like, hey man, is this gonna be like this for the rest of my life as a black business owner?
Right.
Some of the things, some of the conversations to me sometimes they seem all over the place,
right.
because I don't feel like sometimes we're on the same accord. Some people are looking for different things when it comes to being a business owner. Some people are worried about, like I said, the taxes. Some people are worried about, when I'm done and the money that I have, how long does it stretch with inflation? You know what I'm saying? It's some of the conversations are just not clear to me. So I'm always listening. I'm that guy who's like this. I'm always listening. And sometimes I just don't hear a clear exchange of people being on the same accord, because it seems all over the place to me.
That gets back to Marc messaging. So the excitement behind the Walz ticket is exploding. I don't like to use the word honeymoon. I really think that we are in a different political time. But after this DNC, what is the messaging that you think needs to happen in our community to get many people Black American people who have concerns out to the polls and to end apathy?
Black Americans, like all voters, need to understand it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's just a choice.
Yeah.
And politics and government is not a nirvana. It's not a transactional arrangement where if I vote for somebody, my life will dramatically change overnight. And we have to disavow politics and voting is not about me, it's about we. It's what we can do collectively. And choice is important. So I say to people, examine the choice. Examine the people, examine their agenda, not one item on the agenda. I'm tired of people telling me they got a check. What kind of check did you get?
Right.
You're not getting another check. It was a COVID check. And I'm telling you,
look, you talk about explode over there about that check.
Because I just saw something on social media just last night, and I'm sitting here, and they were walking up in a lot of black businesses and saying, they were asking, why are you voting for this certain person? And people are like, because he gave us a check.
Calling out Trump, but that's not the truth even behind it.
The problem,
but instantly, let me finish real quick.
Yeah.
But once they said, no, he didn't do that, that was from the Democratic convention. Then it was like, oh, well, I'm gonna vote for him. I was like, wait a minute, this was all hinged on the concept of you got a $1,200 check here or there?
It's not a community conversation.
I'm not understanding that. I still don't understand to this moment. And when you're talking to people, it just lets you know that maybe some people were really, really, really that bad off that $12,000 to $5,000 was able to buy them in a time when the whole world didn't know what was going on or what to do next. And
but I think what's interesting about the check, and this is probably maybe something that Biden did that he shouldn't have done. There was a second check.
Yeah. The
second check, however, did not have Joe Biden's name on it.
Yep.
Donald Trump decided to brand the check with his name, put his name on there in big letters in big print, and say, I gave you a check, to turn it into a transaction.
Yep.
The second check came. It was the same amount of money, and it didn't have, it just had the government's name on it. So we are so easily snookered, that you would believe that you got one check, but you didn't, quote unquote, get the other check. Black people, wake up. We can be a lot of things. You can vote for who you want to vote for, but we can't be superficial in our understanding. And I want people to spend some time examining candidates. Here's what I tell people about Mr. Trump. You never had one black person work in your real estate business in its history in a position of responsibility. You put together an administration where you hired hundreds of people. At the top level of your administration, you had one black person, a doctor that you put at HUD, and no others. You did not show respect for the black community and how you put your business together or your administration together. How can I trust that you care about me and my family? Now, see, we got to get ourselves educated. But then the second thing is, politics and voting and elections, politicians are not gods.
Right.
They're not saviors.
You're not marrying them.
They're not, you're not marrying them. You know, they are going to run the government, and they have a responsibility to you. So I have a big challenge with a savior mindset, right? That we're going to look for a savior in a president or a mayor or a governor. I want someone good, I want someone strong, I want someone solid, but I'm not expecting them to be my personal counselor, my personal advisor, and solve all my problems. And so these are discussions that we need to have in our community about governance, you know, and leadership. I mean, we have to educate ourselves. Yeah. We took civics out of schools. We took government out of schools. That was a mistake. We need to restore it. We need to bring it back. We ought to be teaching government. Agreed. The other thing we ought to be teaching is the free enterprise system. We ought to be teaching people at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old how to have a business. I had a business at 15 years of age. Cutting grass.
Come on.
Cleaning cars.
Come on.
Cleaning windows. I mean, that was, but we made it, me and my friends made it a business. We gave it a name. We got a flyer printed. We put it out through the neighborhood. Right. Now, it was kind of a summer hustle, but guess what? To us, it was a business.
It was.
You couldn't have told us.
You were doing something.
I had 3 summer jobs one year. I had 3 summer jobs one year.
No, but it's true. I love that, and I know we have to close, but let me just say thank you, for the effort and the work that is coming out of the Urban League, especially the annual report that you all put out every year. As we go, what is your message to voters? We are not that far from
my message to voters is simple, and it's a little bit old school. We have a responsibility to vote. We have a responsibility to be civically engaged. It costs no money. It takes no time. It's the easiest thing you're going to do. It's easier than me getting myself dressed in the morning. It's that easy to go out and exercise. Number 2, if we don't use our power, somebody else will.
Yes.
And then they'll be making decisions for us. We have to be smart about this, and we've got to understand the effort to suppress our vote would not be happening if our vote didn't have power.
Didn't have power, you're right.
So we have to vote, and with people across our community, we also have to engage with our young people, our young men, young women. We have to talk to them about how voting is just one thing we do to improve our community.
Absolutely.
That not doing it in and of itself is going to improve our community.
I love it. Marc Morial, President of National Urban League. Thank you, sir. You know you're always welcome at AURN.
Let me give a shout for American Urban Radio, too. And I'm proud that you're at the White House. I'm proud that you're there in the big room. I'm proud that you all can ask the questions and create the perspective that's for our community. So you all keep on keeping on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope you all have enjoyed this edition of Business for the Culture. There will be more.